Hey guys, and welcome back to the ASX Investor channel, and welcome to another ASX CEO interview. Today, we are going to be diving into the buy now, pay later sector. Everybody's familiar with BNPL and the meteoric rise that it's really had as a cohort. And today we'll be talking about one of the leading BNPL companies listed on the ASX with their headquarters over in the United States, Sezzle. ASX SZL was actually the first company with a solution launched in the BNPL space in the US. It's a really fascinating story. At the core of their mission as well is a much broader mission about financially empowering the next generation. And so we'll be talking about this purpose-driven focus as well with the CEO and co-founder, Charlie Youakim. Charlie, it's an absolutely fascinating story. The BNPL sector has been rising up rapidly over this past period and looking forward to unpacking it all. Welcome to the channel, mate.
Thanks for having me. It is an exciting ride, that's for sure.
There is so many different places that we could have begun this interview, but I think it's interesting having a bit of a step back and really thinking about it from a bit of a higher level discussion about the BNPL space. It's really at the convergence of so many different tailwinds, whether it's increased digital inclination from millennials. Of course, we know there's the rise of e-commerce and a transition away from traditional credit. Wanted to just hear some thoughts about how you're perceiving the sector and really some of those trends that you've seen play out over time.
You know what I really think it is, it's a new payment type that typically these younger adults love. And I think what we're doing is we're actually driving a wedge between traditional debit and credit. That's really what's happening here. And that's why I think it's here to stay. We're basically giving young adults the benefits of debit and a bit of the benefits of credit, but in a way that's really safe. You know, with credit cards of old, especially when I was a young adult, when I was 18 years old, I got my first credit card. I did okay with it. A lot of other of my cohort, they didn't. They got into bankruptcies, et cetera. And it's easy to understand why. It's your first taste of credit. You can get over your skis, get in trouble. And I think that's what the beauty of our product is, that it doesn't allow a young adult to get too far over their skis with the product, with their credit purchasing power. And once they do, they get stopped and they get a chance to catch up. So I think that's why it's this new wedge is here to stay, because it's debit-like and it's credit-like, and it's a blend of the two, and it's very safe. And I think it's a perfect entry product for a consumer into financial services. It's really perfect.
And I think just building on that, what's really interesting about it, of course, is the opportunity for the companies to have alignment with the users of the BNPL product, because you want to make sure that they're able to pay it back and continue to build that. Are you able to just talk about some of the benefits from BNPL and really the opportunity that you first saw as you made that pivot towards the paying for installments a few years ago?
Yeah, so I think the benefits we offer the customer is the safety, the purchasing power, the ability to get what they want today, but to make those timed out payments that do match with paychecks so they can budget. That there really is that value. You can see it in our reviews. I think that's what really lit the sector on fire and lit Sezzle on fire, is when we launched with our first merchants, you could see the results. I mean, we started taking 5-10% share of checkout at these merchants right away. And these were leading to sales I wasn't seen before. I remember one of our first checkouts. We were on a jeans site and we were watching the checkouts, because right when you launch, you're watching everything. And we saw a checkout come through. And then 5 minutes later, we saw the same checkout come through. And we were like, I was asking the tech team, I'm like, hey, do we have a duplicate here? What's going on? And it didn't end up being a duplicate. It was that shopper saying, wow, this worked. I can get 2 pairs. And so you just capture that one little story and you can understand why this is such an attractive product, because we're driving great results for the merchant, and that customer was able to get what they wanted today and plan out for it in the future. Win-win.
It's a really fascinating offering from both Sezzle and the broader cohort. Are you able to talk about who is Sezzle, the ASX SZL story, and how are you positioned within the broader BNPL space?
Yeah, so it is a fascinating story. I would say there's 5 big networks here in the United States. That's where our core market is, United States and Canada, North America. We're one of those players. Where we've really set ourselves apart from the others is our approach first with SMBs. So on the merchant side with SMBs, really being a simple, easy, and effective tool for SMBs to take up buy now, pay later in our product. Very easy, simple, and launch quickly. And then on the consumer side, where we really took off was putting the consumer on the pedestal. These young consumers, they're getting into their first credit product, their first financial product, treating them well, giving them free reschedules, giving them a lot of flexibility, giving them a lot of forgiveness if they had a failure in the system, and then thinking about what they needed next. And that's where we started to launch tools that help the customer build their credit score up. Because when we first launched the product, we didn't touch credit. We still don't. When you enter our product today, there's no hit to credit. We don't look up traditional credit data when a customer comes in to underwrite them. So they come into the system, we take a look, we give them a line, it's a shadow line, the customer doesn't see it. But then again, where that doesn't work out is in the long run. Because in the long run, that young customer, let's say they're 18 years old, they're using our product, which is a credit product, and they're not getting any attribution for it into their histories, their credit histories, which are very important in the United States. And so we started to say, what can we do to help? And that's where we launched basically an upgrade path within Sezzle to join Sezzle Up, where we can now help this customer build their credit score utilizing our product and help them grow their financial future. And so I think that's where we really set ourselves apart on both sides. We're really pushing into enterprise as well now. So we're pushing away, like we're spreading a little bit broader with merchant, but still the strength in SMB, but really a strength with doing the right thing for the customer.
It's an interesting mission. And of course, that's all culminated in some record results really consistently over this past period. But the Q3 quarterly just came out, merchants above 40,000, total active consumers above 3 million. Congratulations on that milestone. Would love to just hear what were some of those key numbers that you think investors should really consider from that past period and what to watch moving forward.
Yeah, so I think, the key metrics for us are active users, active merchants, underlying merchant sales growth, revenue. And, basically I always say our top five, the top three are growth. We're trying to grow this company because there's a lot to go after. But then as we're doing it, we do think about unit economics. So our margins. So we got to make sure that we're building a profitable product as we're scaling it out, and then continue to make improvements. So we're going to be pushing for improvements in our processing costs, our cost of the transaction, our loss rates. So we're going to keep on trending that down over time. And then what we're going to also be doing is improving our cost of funds, because as we get more and more scale, cost of funds should go down. And if we keep on doing that and are mindful about making improvements, we should have unit economic improvements over time. And I always say it's not quarter to quarter. Quarter to quarter, you're going to see, but if you plot it all out, you're going to see trend lines. We're going to keep on walking these items into improvement. And then finally, operational efficiency. So as we double our payment volumes, we won't have to double the team. And there's going to be, again, jaggedness in that as well, because if you do a fundraising year or a fundraise, you're going to build up team. So as that happens, you're not going to see the operational improvement on the quarter because we're scaling up ahead of time. But over time, as you plot it out, operational improvements will happen. And so that's what you can expect from us as a company, going after it, because there's a big market here, especially in fintech in the United States and in North America and abroad as we're starting to plant flags, but then doing it with an efficiency mindset as we do it.
And you've talked about many of those building blocks there, but just to really build that out, where will Sezzle be in 1 year's time and then maybe 5 years' time as you continue to add those building blocks together?
I prefer to sit on the 5-year timeline because I think it's better for people to understand our vision. And where we think we're heading is, if you think about our mission, financially empower the next generation. And that tells you really think about the financial side of things. And we want to help these customers get into financial services. We want to be a part of that. And the reason we want to be a part of it is we can do the right thing. We can help. We can be a great product. Customers love us. They trust us. Our 30-day trailing NPS with our consumers is 85. That goes out on a random survey to our customers. We randomly send it to customers at different stage of life cycle. And right now it sits at 85, which is phenomenal. Merchants, 71, also not too shabby. And so what it tells you though, is these customers love us and they trust us. And if we offer additional products, they will take them up because they know we do a great job. And so our viewpoint is that we'll keep on adding additional financial products, either through partnerships or through building or bolting on wherever it makes the most sense, so that we can continue to offer our customers great financial products, increase their lifetime value. And as we increase lifetime value of customer to us, we can create a virtuous cycle where we can now expand our network faster. And as we expand our network faster, more customers come in and we keep on doing it. And so that's what we're really thinking about in 5 years' time, or over this next 5 years, is building out that path to increase lifetime value to help us speed up the network.
And it's an interesting one as well, because a lot of the initial entries for many of the players in the space, of course, is consumer-focused BNPL. But over time, as you've mentioned, it's likely that you'll continue to add on a range of different products. Are you able to provide any color about the types of areas that you are thinking about as you think about that expansion into other verticals?
Nothing in particular at this time. I think the ones that sit right in front of us that we've already done, Sezzle up with credit building. That's a push into financial services. We're helping the customer build their credit score up. Where that's attractive, it's attractive to our strategic partners. It's also attractive to our merchant partners, because a lot of those enterprise merchant partners have PLCCs, the private label credit cards, and they get it. If we can help them walk the customer up to those higher credit scores, they can now qualify. So we make a great partner. So that's one example of getting into financial services. Another one is our long-term installments partnerships. So we've got a partnership with Ally Financial. We now have a partnership with Alliance Data and Bread, launch coming soon. And really what we're thinking about with that is now we're able to offer these customers additional financial products, long-term installments through our platform. Again, another push into financial services. But there are many other financial services. Some of the obvious ones are, checking, debit type systems. There are revolve products, personal lending products, home mortgage, student loan. There are a lot of products that we could think about in our future. And we're going to be really cognizant and mindful about the right strategy of what comes next. But I think that's what you can really expect from us. And you can also see this across fintechs in North America. A lot of them are starting to think about convergence. What do you have to do to essentially build a better bank, build a better financial institution through tech? That's really where I think things are headed.
Yeah, it's truly fascinating seeing how technology is enabling so much of this development. I'd love to talk about one other dimension of your expansion as well. Of course, that's into new geographies. Canada is really kicking along. You've got Europe, you've got India that are beginning to expand as well. I'd love to hear some thoughts on that and your further global aspirations moving forward.
Yeah, so Canada came about just completely organically. We had a lot of Canadian merchants that were selling into the US when we first launched, and they were asking us, please add this in Canada. We want this in Canada. So they basically, the merchants pulled us into Canada, which we were happy to do because we loved the fact that it created like a strong grouping in North America and a strength across borders. And then we started to think, what's next? Well, my history has had a lot of ties to India. My last company, our tech team was started out of India. So I actually lived there for nearly 6 months. So I had a lot of experience there. Saw the rise of Razor Pay and some other companies in India in the payment space. And then we launched Sezzle. We had ties back to India again. And then we started to think, where else could we launch this product? Because we really believed that it did span borders. We looked at the Indian market. We didn't see a lot of competition for this type of product. We saw a lot of digital lending, but not a lot of buy now, pay later. And so we decided, hey, let's plant a team in India. Let's see what we can do there. And so we launched product last year in July. The company that group is still scaling up. Many of the metrics map very similarly to the United States and Canada at this time, which we pointed out more recently. Still some work to do to get it to what I would consider true product market fit. Maybe on the payment rail side with UPI in India, it's still a growing platform. So we're going to be tying into that and making improvements as necessary. But that's going on pretty well. The EU is a more recent launch, and the EU I would say is more like Canada, because there are a lot of retailers that connect. There's connective tissue with enterprise retailers between EU, Canada, US. And so by having a EU offering, we can become a more complete suite for our enterprise retail partners. So that's where that started. That launched in December, still scaling up, but still early days. And then Brazil was our most recent endeavor. And launching in Brazil really represented almost like a new offering in installments, because Brazil believes in installments. They were one of the original countries that saw the rise of installments take part, or they took part in it. And so our viewpoint is that they like installments in Brazil, but they haven't seen our flavor. And it's a big market, big TAM. E-commerce is growing. Let's give that an attempt as well because of the big TAM. And so I think that's really the viewpoint, is where are there big TAMs, where is there a little bit less competition, or where there are synergies between markets. And we'll keep on exploring through that type of lens, and where it makes sense, we may make that endeavor to push forward.
Appreciate that overview. It looks like there's still plenty to watch as well for investors into other potential markets moving forward. I'd love to touch as well on the competitive landscape. We know that it's become increasingly competitive, from PayPal, discussions about Apple. I guess on one side of the coin, of course, it's validation for the technology and the product, but of course it becomes a more crowded marketplace. I'd love to just hear your thoughts and reflections on it, but also that Sezzle special sauce that you think will be able to set it apart as it continues to grow moving forward.
Well, I think the special sauce is the focus. the focus on making the product excellent. This is not a side product for us. This is our core product. And when a customer utilizes a provider like Sezzle, where it's the core, and they tell you they love what you do, when you're at the 85 NPS, the customer loves that. And I think what happens is they might get introduced through one of the competitors that are entering the space, but that is not a core product for a lot of those competitors. It might be an introduction. And I think a lot of times the people diving in to the space can actually lift the space because it validates the sector. It makes the consumer start to think, I should be using this. And then when they start to think I should be using this, who's the best at this? And then that can actually create lead generation for you as a provider in the space. So, definitely competition is there. We're happy to see it. And I think it is lifting the entire sector in terms of importance. And we believe that we have a nice niche in what we're doing because of our high road play, putting the customer on the pedestal, our belief that what we're doing in terms of execution is setting us apart. And we believe that the numbers are speaking to it. We continue to have significant growth in merchants, significant growth in customers, significant growth in processing volumes, and we're going to keep on pushing ahead and keep on making a difference.
And there, of course, is another potential near-term catalyst that's been attracting a lot of investors' interest in terms of the NASDAQ IPO. We'd love to just hear some of the strategic rationale behind it, the opportunity that increased access to capital and other funds might bring as well to the Sezzle story.
Yeah, we can't talk too much about it because of the restrictions ahead of the US IPO. I have to say, we came to Australia a couple of years back, 2.5 years back, to IPO because the investor there understood buy now, pay later earlier. And what I will say is that investors here understand, in the United States, also understand it. And so I think I think you can read between the tea leaves in terms of how we're viewing things, but I think the US is caught up.
It has been a rapid and meteoric rise for the sector. I'd love just to hear any final reflections for those who might have been following ASX SZL from the IPO through, or for those prospective shareholders who might be looking at the Sezzle story now. Did you have any final reflections to share with them?
Well, I'd say, first of all, for the investors that have been with us, really appreciate your support. We do consider you stakeholders in our company, and we really do work our tails off every day to provide returns for our stakeholders. But those are long-term stakeholders. Day traders need not apply. We're not working for day traders. But what we are doing is we are building a great company. We're thinking long-term. And if you're looking for a long-term investment, our view is that we're the company that's working for that. I mean, I'm one of our biggest, or I'm, I guess one of our biggest shareholders, but our team, a lot of our team is, and we are thinking, what can we do for this company in the long term to set ourselves apart? And if that's what you're looking for, you believe in financial services, I think we're a company that's going to be doing a lot of things in this space to set ourselves apart.
That is the Sezzle story. They're playing on the forefront of the buy now, pay later space. It's ASX SZL, listed on the ASX, potentially upcoming in the US as well. So stay tuned for that one. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to hit the like button. Feel free to share it out. We make daily videos, so make sure you've subscribed and turn your bell notifications on. Charlie, it was an absolute pleasure. We'll have to do it again sometime. Thank you so much for joining us on the channel.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.